Hello everyone, Ragewood here, back with another Godforge video, and today we are going to be taking a closer look at the news that Simon released in the most recent Fateless video. Now, this most recent video covered some of the questions that we all had about the upcoming Tower Alpha, along with numbers involved, how it's going to work, etc. Now, I've prepared a very small diagram to help everyone understand it visually if you are a visual person rather than sort of auditory and words. So hopefully this can better explain some of it for you. So without further ado, let's get into it. Now, as always, I will leave a link to the full video in a pinned comment down below. Now, firstly, this is something that so many other guys pointed out, which initially I just sort of ignored, but the sort of characters in the background behind is a pretty cool step. We've got various ones from different factions, and there's quite a few new stuff here, like Hell and also Pandora, I think. So, yeah, I thought that was pretty cool to see and to point out. Now, the video starts with Simon explaining the beta, or the alpha as we're calling it now. So in June, they're going to have a very closed sort of friends and family, very limited number in June to sort of test out the alpha before opening up to the wider public. Now, there's going to be 3 waves. The first wave is going to be approximately half of the people signed up. That's 20,000 people. So that is a massive jump from close friends and family to 20k people. Now, whether all 20k actually do it remains to be seen. There's going to be a period of like 10 days that we're going to be able to play it for. Then they're going to shut it off, work on some bugs, things like that, before launching it to the second half, so that's another 20k, same time period, and that, closing it off, working on it, and then lastly they're going to open it back up to everyone, so potentially 40,000 players testing it one last time, once everyone's got a bit of experience and they've tweaked a few things. Oh, and I'd also like to stress that the first community wave is not going to happen till July, so even let's conservatively say that's the middle of July, 10 days, then the end of July, probably the second group, with the final wave being in August somewhere. Now, this does likely mean that the full launch or the beta is going to be kicked back as well. That's probably obvious, but I expect to see the full launch of the game being the early part of 26 now, rather than the end of 25. Now, I'm happy to be pleasantly surprised and proven wrong, because you know what they say to assume, but that's just what I envisage. So in the rest of the video, Simon then goes to explain how everything's going to work, and essentially no expense has been spared in this very, very sort of brief artwork that I have developed for you in Photop. So essentially everything that we are going to need is going to drop in this tower, okay? From fodder heroes to level up our food, weapons, gear, they're all going to drop on certain floors. And naturally, the higher you go, sort of the quality of the gear and the weapons will increase. There will be certain floors where you farm XP. So let's say every 7th, or every floor that has a 7 in it will drop XP. So floor number 7 will drop XP here, then floor number 27 will drop more XP. Similar to farming, Raid Stage 12-3 or, Goblin 5 in Dragonair or Watcher, I forget what their dungeon is. The higher the dungeon, the more XP you get, so the bigger the return, essentially. Again, there'll be certain floors which will drop gear, and there'll be certain floors which drop heroes. So your fodder heroes you might farm down here, your middle ones here, and again legendaries towards the top. So if you need to get awakenings, for example, you would just farm floor, let's say this is number 30, and you'll have a choice of a selection of heroes, or drops is the way Simon put it, I believe. So I don't know, you might not be guaranteed to get Beowulf each time you do this run, but this is where you would come to get copies to awaken him to improve him. So Simon has a very lovely breakdown in his video. It's about 15 minutes long, so do go check it out. But this is essentially a very brief visual interpretation of it, okay? Now, he does say that if, for some reason, 10,000 people complete the tower, at the top there will be a clan boss. So, and what I mean by that is a boss with infinite health. It cannot die, and it will simply become who can do the most damage to it to finish top. But the way they're designing it is they are trying to make it hard for you. They don't want this to be easy. They want it to be a challenge. They want us to think about it. They want us to think about team comps and things like that. Because then it will help them by the time the game comes. If the boss is really too hard and people are stopping, no one can clear it, well then that's something they need to change for the second wave or for launch. Vice versa, if a hero is too strong and, let's just say, Beowulf here is just murking every floor, then he needs to be nerfed. And these are the sort of things that they're going to be looking at. But hopefully this visual representation helps you better understand it slightly. There will be bosses and mini-bosses located throughout as well, which might drop the heroes rather than regular floors, etc. It's still all up in the air, and as soon as any of us have more detail for you, we will, of course, show it. So then back to the actual video. I'm not going to dive into it too much, but there were a couple of things shown to us for the first time, which I thought was really cool. The first one is the Virage environment back here. We've not seen this before. We've recently seen Olympus and the Aru change. We've now got Virage. You can see the banner in the back there. Dracula's weapon we're finally getting a look at for the first time. And yeah, you've got like, I don't know if it's a forge back here. That's what it certainly looks like to me. Or perhaps like a gathering tent. But I love the stone feel, the obsidians, that kind of thing. It really does look wicked. And this is Simon just explaining that you will just get copies of the heroes and XP in the tower. The other thing we get to see for the first time is the Eka environment as well. So they've got sort of like the blue walls of, I think it was Babylon, that had like the blue gate, the famous blue gate with the animals on it. But yeah, first look at the Eka environment in the background. That's obviously in game now too. And again, just looking sick. But Virage in particular, I'm a big fan for that sort of dark fantasy stuff. And, you know, that one looks pretty sweet to me. We then get a look at sort of the Awakening sort of page. Now, one thing Simon does say, actually, is like this hero roster screen will be in the alpha. But when we come to the main menu here, so one thing Simon does say, though, is all of these will be grayed out. The only thing that will be available will be the tower button just here. But we will still be able to go to our hero roster screen to equip the gear, I believe. Just rather than spreading out across the game to farm all these various items, we will just be in one singular environment. We also get a look at Volkodlak's animation. Now, we did see him in a T-pose in a previous video recently, but this is him now with his animations, with the Virage environment in the background, looking sweet. I love that bestial vibe that we're getting, obviously, from a werewolf, but it's nice to see some movement. And there was one more thing. So for those eagle-eyed viewers like myself, there is a new hero portrait here around the 7-minute 53 mark, and it is this over here. So a lot of these guys we have seen now. This I do still think is Pangu, Sphinx, Odin, Nobunaga, Horus, and then this chap here. Now I've been thinking a little bit on who it might be. So clearly we have a very ornate, very rich sort of mask there, covering the face. Now, we did see Simon mess around with the treasure golem in-game not too long ago. He shared that in Discord. But I don't think that's the treasure golem. I don't think the boss would be in the hero roster screen, so I do think this is going to be a playable character. So I was thinking, who in any sort of mythos has that very sort of ornate treasure vibe about them? Now, I was also looking at the backgrounds as well, as to whether that would give us any clues as to who it would be. And, you know, I've been comparing. So I think this is a similar shade to Aphrodite's. We can see some of them do have different shades. That's something that I actually advocated for to give us an idea on who's who. So I do think it is an Olympian. Now, we do know that there was a dungeon or art for Midas's, or King Midas. Is like treasure. So I thought maybe it's someone like him. I do also wonder whether this could be Agamemnon. Now, he had a golden funerary mask, which was discovered in Mycenae. So possibly it's him. Agamemnon, obviously the guy who started the Trojan War, I think. But would someone like that be a void legendary? Now, we do have Oda Nobunaga, who's not necessarily a deity himself. He was I forget what they called it, a daimyo. So possibly this is Agamemnon, and this is honestly my closest thought right now. But it could also be a god. So if you've got any ideas on who it could be, assuming it is some sort of Greek relation, let me know in the comments down below. Likewise, if you think perhaps, you know, this is a Persian deity from like Eka, Babylonian, that side of the world, because, you know, Persians were known to be rich in gold and other valuables. Again, let me know, give me your thoughts. And that is it for today. So thank you very much for watching. Take care, look after yourselves, work hard, but as always, play harder, and I'll see you in another one soon. Cheers.